the book Chike and the River by Chinua Achebe. We are going to read different sections. I'll refer you to different pages. Chike lived with his mother and two sisters in the village of Umuofia. His father had died many years ago. His mother worked very hard to feed and clothe her three children and to send them to school. She grew most of the food they ate: yams, cassava, maize, beans, plantains, and many green vegetables. She also traded in dry fish, palm oil, kerosene, and matches. Chike was now 11 years old, and he had never left his village. Then one day, his mother told him that he would be going to Onitsha in the new year to live with his uncle, who was a clerk in one of the firms there. At first, Chike was full of joy. He was tired of living in a bush village and wanted to see a big city, like those of you who are living in Lagos now. He had heard many wonderful stories about Onitsha. His uncle's servant, Michael, had told him that there was a water tap in the very compound where they lived. Chike said this was impossible, but Michael had sworn to its truth by wetting his first finger on his tongue and pointing it to the sky. Chike was too thrilled for words, so he would no longer wake up early in the morning to go to the stream. The trouble with their village stream was that the way to it was very rough and stony, and sometimes children fell and broke their water pots. In Onitsha, Chike would be free from all these worries. Also, he would live in a house with an iron roof instead of his mother's poor hut of mud and thatch. It all sounded so wonderful. But when the time actually came for Chike to leave, his mother and sisters, he began to cry. His sisters cried too, and even his mother had sighs of tears in her eyes. She placed one hand on his head and said, "Go well, my son. Listen to whatever your uncle says and obey him. Onitsha is a big city full of dangerous people and kidnappers. Therefore, do not wander about the city. In particular, do not go near the river Niger. Many people get drowned there every year." She gave Chike many other words of advice. He nodded his head and sniffed because his nose was running. Chike's nose always ran when he cried. Let's go to page 4. Every Saturday, Michael went to the big market to buy provisions. Sometimes when he had many things to buy, he took Chike with him. Chike did not help in the buying, but in carrying some of the things home. He did not mind this at all. In fact, he liked it. While Michael bargained with the traders, Chike stood aside watching the great river as it flowed peacefully down to the sea. He watched the fishermen in their canoes coming down the river or struggling up against it. Some of the canoes were houseboats. They had roofs of thatch over them. Chike was told that the fishermen lived for weeks or months in these boats. But what Chike liked most was to watch the big ferry boats. They looked enormous to him. He wondered what big ships would look like. His class teacher had told him that big ships could only be seen in Lagos, Port Harcourt, or Burutu. But surely these ferry boats at Onitsha were big enough. Why did anyone want bigger boats for? Even the canoes were big enough for some people to live in. The more Chike saw the ferry boats, the more he wanted to make the trip to Asaba. But where would he get the money? He did not know. Still, he hoped. One day is one day, he said, meaning that one day he will make the journey, come what may. Go to page 65. As Chike told his story, The night watchman began to shake. He covered his face with his hands to hide his tears. Chike became a hero. One big man in the crowd lifted him up and placed him on his shoulders. The others applauded. He said he had never seen such bravery from such a little boy. The police arrested the three thieves that same day. They also recovered the bales of velvet they had stolen. The cloth was worth thousands of pounds. The manager of the shop shook hands with Chike and promised to make him a present later. Then he gave him a good meal and drove him in his car to the ferry. Everywhere people spoke of Chike's adventure. His photograph appeared in the local newspaper and his name was mentioned on the radio. Then after the three thieves and the night watchman had been tried and imprisoned, Chike got a letter from the manager of the shop. He announced that the company which owned the shop had decided to award a scholarship to Chike, which will take him right through secondary school. Because this is the end of our reading today.